It is that season once again when fear, uncertainty, and doubt is rearing its ugly head, and a lot of it is just plain misinformation. However well-intentioned it may be, we're going to address some of that today. We're not going to get political, I promise. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Joining me today is my good friend Mark, who, when I showed him this topic, I said, we're not going to get political, and he said, how? But we're not. This was comments made by a candidate for president. I am not endorsing anyone. I do not see anyone who is pushing the kind of initiatives that I think are critical at this time in the transition. On the one hand, you've got environmental concerns, which you may agree or disagree with, but there are also economic concerns, and choosing to fall behind in the EV race will be bad for business. So whether you like business or not, whether you hate clean air, it's fine. This is just some misinformation. Let EVs succeed or fail on their own merits, I say. But let's take a look at this. Donald Trump goes on an all-electric car rant full of lies and hilarious nonsense. Now, of course, this is Fred Lambert, who is also sometimes full of lies and hilarious nonsense. I don't have anything against him, but he is polarizing. I don't like to get too political at electric. Those who know me personally know I'm as apolitical as it gets. I believe him. That's not the point. Let's get to the points that he had made, because they're often wrong. You know, most of the time in his rallies, when he bring them up as a talking point to ridicule them, focusing on the premise that electric cars don't go far. Let's start there. They don't go far. Is that true?
Maybe 15 years ago, but that's not the case today. Not even close. So I'm not sure where that's coming from.
I would agree with you, and it depends on the car. You can still get a Mini or a Bolt, but you can also get like a Lucid that gets over 400 miles. You can get like a Plaid that gets over, or long range, I guess, Model S that gets over 400 miles. And it depends how you drive them, of course, but that's also true of any car. If you're going pedal to the metal in a Bugatti, you're going to get something like 20, 30 miles before you run out of gas, because that's how much energy you're expending. So I would disagree with that they don't go far. Charging is a pain. Would you agree that charging an EV is a pain?
No, it's easy. It's refreshing. As you and I, Brian, both know, we'll be on trips just in the next few days, or already done, and the ability to charge, grab a snack, come back in 15 or 20 minutes, and hop in the car and go on the next leg and go for a couple hours is fantastic. It's a great way to travel.
And when you're not on road trips, I don't think about it. I just plug in when I get home. It takes less time than it takes for everyone else to get out of the car. I would say that charging non-Teslas is more work than charging Teslas, especially on road trips. Not at home. At home, they're all equally easy. And then he went as far as calling them a hoax. I don't know how to address that. They're real. They exist. I guess I don't know the context for that. But he has also claimed that he is all for electric cars. And during his campaign 4 years ago, he tried to take credit for incentives put in place during the Obama administration. Did he? That's interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. With this 2024 campaign, okay, so let's get to the fresh new points. Trump is now ranting about batteries and shark attacks.
Okay. Those are two things I just would not put together in the same sentence.
So here are some claims. There are no EV chargers.
That is, again, misinformation.
Well, here in the article, we see there are over 168,000 EV chargers, including 37,000 fast chargers, plus every outlet in the country is an EV charger. Electric trucks weigh more than twice, triple as much as gasoline and diesel trucks.
Again,
well, let's start with
information triple. from this a strange place.
I don't I don't know if you want to compare, like the lightest truck is probably what, a Hyundai Santa Fe against the heaviest electric pickup. I mean, you can't really
Yeah,
say the
but
Hummer,
you got
but
to
it's still
compare apples to apples, though, don't you? Like
right,
you can't cherry pick the lowest weight and compare it to a different type of truck.
right. It's definitely not triple, but it's also not double. Um, they have to fix every bridge in the U.S. to handle the weight. That's
I
not a
can't even reply to that one.
that's not a thing. What I always point out is that the Model 3 weighs almost exactly as much as a BMW 3 Series. A Model S weighs almost exactly as much as a Mercedes S Class. Um, this is true across any like car. They've done very good work at keeping the weight under control. Uh, but okay, fine. But they're not heavier. They're certainly not heavier than a Chevy, Suburban, or like an Avalanche, or a Escalade. Those are very a Lincoln Navigator weighs more than nearly every EV on the road combined. I think I may have got the math wrong on that, but they're very heavy. Uh, he insinuated that electric boats would sink because of their weight. That's a function of
That's not a
displacement more
thing.
than weight. That's not a thing. To be fair, I don't know if I've seen him on like yachts or boats of any kind in a long time, like since the 80s, I would say. And then he implies that electric boats are a serious electrocution risk in the open ocean, which is not how science works. If there's this misconception from childhood that kids think that electric eels mean the ocean is dangerous. Electricity dissipates very quickly in water. So not not the hugest danger. Otherwise, anytime there was a short circuit, all the swimmers in the vicinity would, you know, look like the fish that pop up when you drop in a stick of dynamite. Uh, so yeah, there and then a lot of this is addressed in Fred's article. As much as you may hate Fred, everybody, he does do good work. He has a bitterness against Elon. It is not an uncommon thing to have. Um, I would say the biggest problem in combating FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, is 5 years ago when everyone was having these same conversations, fighting the same misinformation. There were endless people willing to stand up and defend electric vehicles, to defend Elon, to do all that, and he has. By choosing to speak his mind and saying things that are not always popular, you're going to alienate people. By going political, you're going to lose half right there. So you can just safely assume that half the people who would have been online defending this stuff are no longer interested in doing that. I told you I once lost half of my viewers because I took a stand on pineapple on pizza, and I learned my lesson, Mark. I will not discuss it again. It was wrong. I apologized. I've made amends
We're still
on
getting
both.
pineapple on our pizza on Saturday, though, right?
We're getting oops all pineapple. There's no bread, there's no cheese. It's just pepperoni and a pineapple. It's a pineapple bowl filled to the brim with uncooked pepperoni. It's they call it Muskegon style, I decided just now. So join us for that, everybody. It's my treat. That would be that would be terrible. So I'm not saying, don't vote for Donald Trump because he said these very strange things about electric vehicles. I'm not saying vote for Biden because he said different strange things about electric vehicles. I would point out, in the interest of equal time and fairness, the Biden initiative to put tariffs on solar panels is a real head scratcher to me. I don't understand who they're trying to benefit with that. The only plausible explanation I have is it helps legacy power companies, because it doesn't help US manufacturers. It doesn't help consumers. It just makes solar panels more expensive and less likely to be adopted. And I think that's the wrong approach.
Yeah, that's definitely a head scratcher as to how that is going to benefit anybody on the consumer side of things, or industry in North America.
It's very frustrating. Um, and if we're going to be putting the tax on the batteries as well, that doesn't just affect the cars, that affects the stationary storage, things like Megapack. Um, and those are a big business. That is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's about to get slapped with a substantial tax. As well, we want the batteries made here. Great, but give us 2 years notice, 3 years notice, so that they can build the factories in the meantime. Put some targets. I don't know. It just seems it's very frustrating. Another question in the comments: did I do a good enough job remaining apolitical? Because the only politics I like to discuss is how it pertains to policy. And both of these issues from both of these candidates, in my opinion, affect policy. And especially when it comes to outright misinformation, these are the comments I'm going to have to be combating for the next 3 years. And I've already been combating some of them because people still say crazy things. You shouldn't park them in a parking garage because they're too heavy. Have you been to a parking garage? Do you know what the weight rating even is? They're not heavy. They're not outrageously heavy.
Don't
Another
charge your
thing,
car in the rain; you'll get electrocuted.
I made that joke at a Tesla meetup. It started raining, and I said, "Well, guess we can't charge today." Uh, they they appreciated it. Not as it didn't go over as well as I hoped. It went over okay. I will say, in conclusion, I have seen throughout the Midwest probably 4, 5, 6 Cybertrucks on in the wild, like not scheduled meetups or anything, but one was at a charger in Kearney, Nebraska. One was at a charger in Salt Lake City. It's not the Midwest, but it's in the middle of the country. And then I saw one today on the highway going the other direction. I could tell which one it was because it was the one that was shaped like a Cybertruck. So they're kind of easy to spot, night or day with that headlight. So, any closing thoughts, Mark? Any big piece of enduring FUD you would like us to address real quick?
It's surprising that this is still going on. But of course, when you've got a presidential candidate that is talking about points that really don't exist, he's just spreading the FUD, and a lot of people just take it in. My suggestion is, if you're unsure about something, or someone makes a comment that you don't necessarily think is right, do a little research yourself. Get on the internet, do a couple searches, and fact check some of this stuff, because just taking someone at their first initial thought could be a big mistake. Do some checking yourself.
I like to fact check things when I find a juicy fact before I share it. Before I share it, Mark, I like to double check that it's actually real because found some really great ones before, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to mention. I can make a whole show, and then I start researching it and find, yeah, I'm not gonna. That's not a thing. So there are obstacles there. Um, the biggest one I love is the dual matching one that says they're too expensive and they depreciate too fast. Which is it? Because it can't be both. If they depreciate super fast, just buy one that's a year or two old for a fraction of the price. But the resale value is quite strong because the quality remains generally quite high. So, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? I'm a little tired. I get that way by the time I get around to shooting with Mark. I did my 2 videos with Herbert today. I did my 2 videos for his channel. I did a live stream an hour long with Herbert. And then I drove from Sioux Falls to, where on earth am I? La Crosse, Wisconsin. So, because I'm a time traveler, and as you guys know,
It's
I
a
was only
full
there
it's
one
a
night.
full-time job being a podcaster, isn't it?
It is. It is. I've got it dialed in a bit. As you know, I've got, my little ring light I take with me and my microphone, but no stand because stands are too bulky. So there you go. what do we miss, and understand all of that good stuff, smack a like, do the usual thing. Head over to the Tesla Life with Mark there. See what those guys are up to. Pat and Casey are keeping that thing a lot of fun with Mark. And that it's a fantastic channel and it needs more love. If you haven't checked it out, do me a kindness and check it out. Just do that. Link in the description. Everybody else, like, subscribe, smack thumbs. If you feel like throwing me a nickel on Patreon or X or YouTube as a channel member, that's how I'm able to do these things. But I'll go get back to begging a little harder on that later on. Right now, I just gotta, get this done and get some sleep. So, Mark, thank you for hanging out,
Thanks, Brian.
and I'll talk to you soon.